School of Education and the Calgary Board of Education. I have besides me conference co-chairs Dr. Boz and Eve Morrow, who have spent months working on this project with me. They will tell you a bit more about our inspiration behind this work as the day unfolds. Before we continue with today's program, I would like to invite Eve Morrow to lead us in a multilingual land acknowledgement. Eve?
Thank you, Rahat, Oki, Tensi, Ni hao. Hello, my name is Eve, and I'm the languages specialist for the Calgary Board of Education. And I'm honored to open today with the land acknowledgement for the Treaty 7 region of Southern Alberta. Elders have taught us that it's important to acknowledge the land where we gather and the first peoples that traditionally lived here. It shows respect for people, their contributions, and ways of knowing, which are reflected through the stories and songs that have lived on these lands for thousands of years. We make this acknowledgement to further demonstrate our commitment to work together as a community to lay the foundation for reconciliation through education. In the spirit of multilingualism, I will say the acknowledgement this morning in Spanish. Nos gustaría reconocer los territorios tradicionales y las prácticas orales de las naciones Blackfoot, que incluye el Siksika, el Piikani y el Kainai. También reconocemos a las primeras naciones Tsuut'ina y Stoney Nakoda, la nación Métis, región 3, y todas las personas que viven en la región del Tratado 7 del sur de Alberta. Hi, hi.
Thank you, Eve. Hello, everybody. Bonjour tout le monde. Herkese merhaba. I am Ümit Boz. I'm a senior instructor of language and literacy at the Werklund School of Education at the University of Calgary. Thank you for joining us today for our one-day virtual conference. We are delighted to have almost 1,000 virtual attendees joining us from across the globe for different sessions we have today. We hope that you're all keeping well and safe during these challenging times. Originally, we had planned an in-person gathering, but given the pandemic, we had to pivot and move everything online, which actually allowed us to expand our reach to a global audience. We're very excited to have you here and connect you with leading scholars in the world from the fields of language education, literacy, and social justice. We would like to acknowledge and thank our sponsors, Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council of Canada, Calgary Board of Education, and University of Calgary for the funding, as well as their support along the way. As Rahat mentioned, the impetus behind this conference, as suggested by the title, is the changing linguistic landscapes that characterize our learning spaces in Canada and beyond. As we know, multilingual classrooms are becoming increasingly complex across Canada and around the world due to language policies on the one hand, increased transnational integration, and population mobility on the other. This is particularly true in the province of Alberta, which has both a high population of English language learners as well as alternative language education models, such as French immersion and bilingual education programs. Addressing these shifting linguistic landscapes, today's conference brings scholars, teachers, and community stakeholders together to foster a dialogue around the kinds of language pedagogies that advance equity and inclusion in our schools. We are very excited and honored to have Dr. Ofelia Garcia as our keynote speaker, who will be presenting on translanguaging and multilingualism in schools, starting shortly in 20 minutes. We are also privileged and delighted to have 10 leading scholars who conduct cutting-edge research on multilingual, transcultural, plurilingual, community-based, and culturally sustaining pedagogies. They are joining us from Canada, the United States, Colombia, Germany, and Australia. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to thank our speakers today for all their contributions to this knowledge mobilization event. And I would like to individually acknowledge them. Dr. Ofelia Garcia, Dr. Mary Paul Laurie, Dr. Sylvia Mello Pfeiffer, Dr. Bonnie Norton, Dr. Luciana Oliveira, Dr. Guofeng Li, Dr. Raul Alberto Mora, Dr. Burcu Yaman Nitelioğlu, Dr. Jacqueline Duarte, Dr. Gail Prasad, and lastly, Dr. Patrian Smith. Last but not least, I would like to acknowledge the tremendous work by our conference coordinator, Chantal Palmer, as well as our graduate assistant, Marigona Morina. Without them, it would have been very difficult to navigate this process. So many thanks to Chantal and Marigona. We know that it may not be possible for you to attend all the sessions today because they're concurrent, but please feel free to visit the conference website to listen to the speaker podcasts after the conference and review the pedagogical resources. This project has a dynamic community engaged component through the pre-conference learning series with Alberta teachers. We would like to thank all the participating teachers also and our community partners for their contributions. Today, Stephen Hurley from Voice Ed is broadcasting today's program online sessions. So thank you, Stephen, for this coverage. Again, welcome to the conference. We are delighted to have you with us for a day of learning and inspiration. And with that, I will turn it over to Rahat.
Thank you, Umit. I'd like to ask our Dean Gerlach, to say a few welcome words. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I'm just so excited, and I want to welcome everyone to today's conference on shifting linguistic landscapes. It is truly remarkable that we have over 1,000 participants today from around the world, and it's a testament to your commitment. You know, the Werklund School of Education has a long-standing partnership with the Calgary Board of Education, and it's in our shared commitment to ensure that all children thrive and flourish. We are delighted to partner with CBE, which is the largest board in Alberta and the second largest board in Canada. And given at a time when there is so much exhaustion, I just want to say thank you to the teachers who made the time to come today. Not only are we working through and struggling through a global pandemic with rising numbers, both locally and globally, but in Alberta, we're also dealing with the political and economic challenges that are putting extra pressures and challenges to some of our fundamental values. And so I really want to thank you for all the work that you've done, not only this year, but continue the advocacy that you have been doing beyond what's been called for. You know, this event really is the combination of the innovative research and thinking in the field of multilingualism, second language acquisition, and social justice, led by Rahat Zaidi, in collaboration with Dr. Umit Boz from the Werklund School of Education and Eve Morrow from the Calgary Board of Education. It's really impressive to see what has been done over the last 2 years, and then the culmination in this conference, but also in terms of the podcasts and all of the shared work that the teachers have been doing in terms of developing the lesson plans, so that this event is not just a one-day moment in time, but can sustain and move the movement forward in the work that we're doing in our learning environments. You know, today's conversation is happening at a time when issues of equity, diversity, and social inclusion have been elevated in the public discourse. And I think in some respects, we're at another crossroads, where on the one hand, we have seen the increased polarization in society. And yet on the other, there is a moment where these various movements that we are seeing call out the systemic discrimination and racism, and we are challenging that. And I've always said that educators are always at the forefront in terms of the systemic transformative change that we want to see in our society, in advancing these discussions and sustaining them in our learning environments for our present and future generations of children and families. One of the things that I love to see, and I think it's so timely that this conference is happening in Alberta, is we've seen such an influx in terms of the diverse numbers and populations of children and families who have become part of our communities. And this adds complexity, but also a richness to our learning environments in how we ensure that we feel valued, included, and belong. Today's conference is a commitment to our collective responsibility, ensuring that students see themselves in our curriculum and see themselves valued and belonging, included in our schools and in our community. This is not a new commitment in Alberta, and nor is it in Canada, but we've always seen kind of the ways in which we can promote it through language instruction in Alberta schools. And that, you know, if you see even from the early 1970s with the promotion of French language and heritage language programs, Alberta boasts an impressive variety of language programs, the most in Canada, only second to Ontario in terms of French immersion, French language instruction, and the multitude of heritage language programs and this commitment. You know, I do want to also thank the esteemed invited speakers from across Canada, the United States, Germany, Australia, and Colombia, and really delighted to see you come here on this virtual space. With this, I'm going to conclude, and I just want to reiterate, and I want to thank all the teachers here today. You know, I am marveling and impressed with all that you're doing and truly humbled by the work that you're doing today. I know that this conversation will continue in your classrooms. I look forward to seeing the work and the movements, and let us be leaders across the globe in terms of the way that we can ensure that all children feel included and flourish. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you very much for those comments. I would now like to request Martin Poirier, Director of Languages at the Calgary Board of Education, to say a few words.
Thank you. Well, thank you. What an amazing day we have in front of us. So first and foremost, I need to thank the Werklund School of Education for their support in organizing this day. It was a wonderful experience to work with you in organizing an amazing day. And thank you, Dr. Zaidi, Dr. Boz, in particular for organizing this day. I have to thank Eve Moreau, our language specialist, one of our language specialists at the board. The work you have done in the last 2 years is amazing. Fortuitous because of the pandemic that we could assemble such a team of academics and such a conference program. And so maybe one positive of the pandemic there. It's exciting to see this labor come to life. Thank you also for organizing the learning series that gives a chance to our teachers to look in depth at their practice in this new challenging landscape. When I think of the classroom that I was in 30 years ago, and the one that I have the chance to visit today, and the one where our teachers are working at, the team, obviously the theme of the conference comes to mind. It's definitively a shifting linguistic landscape with a background of facing the challenge of equity. So thank you for all the teachers that are taking the day today to take a step back and reflect on their daily practice, and also take a chance to reflect on your craft facing this challenge. So I hope that you enjoyed this day. I'm so thankful for this unique partnership that we have with Werklund that could allow for the organization of this day. So thank you. Enjoy your day.
Merci.